I know everyone's been anxiously awaiting more of my videos, so here you go. Good job, everybody, on the first exam, and I did enjoy reading your assignments, and you saw your grades, so keep it up. You're halfway there. You're doing great. So almost halfway there. Waiting for service. You know, one of the things that is great for us in the business is that we become successful. With that success means what? Means that people want to wait on our products and services. So additionally, the first thing that we look at on this slide is, again, how many people are going to arrive, what rate, and how long is it going to take? This is nothing new. This has been around fast food, casual dining, fine dining, hotels, resorts, amusement parks, everything you can think of. It's always been an issue. I think that we're getting better at it in a lot of aspects, and at the same time, I think we have a lot more work to do at it. But those three fundamental issues are what we need to figure out. You know, if you hit capacity, what do? Listen, you go, well, if I close my doors, it's going to, for lack of a better word, piss some people off. Not as much as keeping them open and not getting them food and or a room and or a service. Okay? Can we add to that? Of course we can. We can expand. We can get bigger. We can put tables on the patio. We can do this, that, whatever. Managing demand is probably, for a lot of you that are listening to this, if you haven't got into that role yet, it's going to be one of the big things for you. It's going to be how to manage the demand of your product and service. Again, you know, when the line forms, what do? I mean, I'll give you a perfect example. We opened up a Mexican food cafe in a town, and we knew we were going to be busy. So how did we manage the line by diverting customers? We took them outside. We offered free drinks. We offered chips and salsa. We did a bunch of things like that to try to get their mind off of the wait. Can also do nothing. I can tell you that I wouldn't recommend that strategy, but you can certainly try it. When you're planning for this, again, what are you trying to accomplish with your operation? How long should the guest wait or not wait? And so we can design that. You know, seats in a dining room, time in the lobby for guest check-in, or, like I said, waiting in line for an attraction. All those things can be there. Hey, at this point, you should do this. Again, you've heard me say Disney, and I know you're like, please be quiet about Disney, but I was there last weekend. What's the average time that I have to wait? Well, guess what we can do now in most theme parks? Look it up on our phone while we're waiting. Okay? And then you get to capacity day and you say, set a limit to keep the guest happy. If I know it's going to be 30 minutes, the expectation is it's going to be 30 minutes to do something, then I'm okay with that, if that is the norm. But if it's 35 minutes, maybe not. So you have to look at that. You know, again, how long in the queue, how long waiting in line, you know, look at these theories and exactly what they mean. And then sampling arrival and service patterns of guests, you know, it's amazing how predictably some of the patterns are for what we do. You know, I could tell you one of the restaurants that I worked for, you could set your clock by it when the rush was going to be. And you go, well, sure, because it's going to be Friday night. Well, it wasn't always Friday night. It could have been Sunday at 4 o'clock. But we knew, you know. And then, you know, along those lines in the restaurant business, okay, well, they're coming in at this time. What are they ordering? So, again, there's a lot of science to it. Sometimes that science will serve you well, and sometimes it won't. It's a lot of just trial and error. I mean, many of you that are listening to this right now that are working are like, yeah, man, I know when we're going to get hit. Sunday lunch, okay, after church, or Friday night. You know, I worked in the bar business for a long time, and I worked in a college town. And Thursday night we had dollar drink specials, so you can guess when the busy time was. When you look at the characteristics of the waiting lines, again, how many guests are arriving, how they're entering the line, you know, how are they served once they arrive, how long does it take to serve guests. to make a steak, we know that it takes X amount of minutes to make a steak cooked medium. So if the table sits down at this time and they order it this time, we know it should take no longer than this. Now, I say that and we use the term ticket times, and that really hasn't changed over many, many years. It simply becomes, what is the average ticket time at our cafe in our hotel if someone's coming in for lunch? Okay, because that's how long it should take us to serve them, get them out, and get another table in, which in turn also, as you can tell, dictates the wait up front. Based on that stuff, when the guests come up and we're full and they say there's 2 of us, we say, oh, the wait's about 20 minutes. We're not randomly making these numbers up. We figured that out based on all these other factors. Different types of line types. You can read up on this. One thing I will tell you is that if it's done wrong, it's going to make people more upset than waiting in the actual line. They get halfway up there and realize they're in the wrong line, or that this is the line for that instead of the line for this, then they're even more upset. Then you got to deal with that, which is something you hadn't factored in. Virtual queues are becoming very popular. I mean, you still have the funky pagers that are, the size of your hand that vibrate and light up, and that's really cute. But more and more, what are we seeing people say? Hey, give us your phone and we'll text you when your table's ready. The freedom to walk around and do other things and not worry about getting out of the zone or the radius of this humongous thing that I don't want to hold to on to begin with. Just text me and say, Mr. Ward, your table's ready now. So not that one's better than the other. You just kind of look at those and see which one's going to be best for you. And like they say here, progress towards the goal, control over what is happening, activity, fairness of how their weight, how it was managed. One of the longest lines I got into, because I have kids, showed me the beauty of what? Of heads up. I saw some people playing a game. My daughter was very, very antsy, didn't know what was going on. And I said, what in the world are they doing? And guess what? That made that wait a lot easier for me, because she was occupied and forgot about how long she had been standing in line. Now, that had nothing to do with the place and where we're standing in line. But my point is, can you figure out a sense of activity or something that you can do to manage that? There are restaurants that have the servers come out and dance or perform a skit. And why are they doing that? To distract you from the fact that the kitchen's backed up and ticket times are running behind. You've all of a sudden forgotten that you're mad that your lobster's not out, that your steak's not out, that your burger's not out. You're like, oh, look how cool that is that the servers do that. You can look at all these different things, like we said, mathematical determinations, as I mentioned, how long it takes to make the longest item on our list. Many places that you go in a steakhouse, you have people, I don't know, and I used to be one of these people years ago, who want their steak well done. They want a hockey puck. And so what do we tell those people? You understand, and you look at the whole table and all the guests, you understand it's going to take a little bit longer because to have a well done steak takes blah, blah, blah. That's okay. The science to it. Now, look, it's never perfect. Campers are going to hang out on tables and not leave. People are going to sit in line and, whatever they're going to do. But it gives you the observation of flow, how they come in, how they go out, what they're doing, how long do they sit there. Is there a sporting event going on in the bar on the TVs, okay? Like the Super Bowl, no one's moving. So you look at all these different factors and you weigh those in. Yes, you're probably going to have lines. So, again, it is the guest's satisfaction. Not yours, theirs. Okay? And it's like how long they feel they have to wait. So, managing the value of the experience to the guest. And again, I've been to regular theme parks where there's nothing to do while you're waiting in line. Then you go to other theme parks where there's visual stuff to go through there while you're waiting online. And all of a sudden you're sitting there going, this isn't too bad. At least we're inside. Or, hey, that's kind of cool. They can do this. They can do that. So, again, what is the wait? How do you manage that wait? What can they do? Do you offer drinks? Do you offer snacks? Do you offer, whatever it's going to be, how do you make it for them seem like, hey, I understand I have to wait, but this isn't so bad. So, again, occupied, unoccupied time. And again, this is when any of you that have ever done service, and let's say you're in a restaurant, people sit there and go, well, that table's empty. Why can't I sit there? What's going on with that table? So, going back to alleviating the anxious feelings of the guest. And then they finally get sat down, and then they have to wait 10 more minutes or 5 more minutes till they see a server. Or someone meets them at the front desk. You're checking in a huge group for a conference. Well, that other guest is going to feel left out. So again, how we manage all this stuff. And when you don't know, people get upset. Trust me, and many of you have seen this. It's going to be a 30-minute wait, tells the guest they've started their unofficial stopwatch. Many of them literally will turn on a timer on their phone. And they will walk up to you at 31 minutes and say, it's been 31 minutes and you said 30. So, again, how long is it going to be? I don't know. Unfair versus fair. The guest perception. That is what you always have to remember, is what they're thinking about. Comfortable waits. Inside, air conditioning, was able to get a drink, something for my family, blah, blah, blah. Stuff for us to do while we're waiting, okay? And things to make us feel welcome. We're glad you're here. We're glad we know it's a long wait. Why don't you try doing this while you're waiting? Hey, you have kids. We have this for the kids while you're waiting. All kinds of fun stuff like that. Okay? And again, it just goes back to everything we talk about. How long before you get there? How long during and how long after? And in the imperfect world, our expectations change, and they're not getting less. They're becoming more. We expect more. And you have to make sure that what you can do, your capacity, is in line with your guest. Do we often say guests have unrealistic expectations? All the time. What we have to do is get them to balance with what we know we can do as best we can, and it is difficult. I lived in a town that was always short-staffed. Our biggest challenge was that guests would come in and say what I just said a few minutes ago. Well, there's all kinds of tables. Why can't you seat me right now? The guests did not care in this town that it was so hard for us to hire servers and keep servers that we literally could seat them immediately, but we had no one to wait on them. And that is a problem. And this was a lot of chain restaurants in a town. If any of you are familiar with West Texas and the oil boom, everybody goes and works in the oil fields, and they pay so much money that no one wants to work for a server's wage. And so literally empty tables sitting there. Now, again, the guest does not care. And service for us, again, is a perceived thing. Many of you work in this industry, and I personally don't do this, but I know people who work in industry who do, that are like, I can't believe service was like this. I've been a server my whole life. I can't believe they do this, they do that, whatever. No, I'm a visual person. I watch, I observe, I look, I recognize good service. When there's bad service, I kind of take mental notes for future reference about, why did that happen? Why did it take so long to do this? If you're a manager, it's, hey, maybe the sections for my servers are too big. Maybe I need to have 2 more servers on the clock. Maybe there needs to be someone behind the front desk checking in, an extra person on this day at this time, because it seems like the majority of our walk-ins come then. Or we understand that next weekend in our town is this major sporting event, and a bunch of people will be here. So we have to tailor what we're doing around that. It's a game. It's a constant game that you play, and honestly, quite frankly, you don't always win it. But you try to do the best that you can. And as I said, that balance between what you expect and what you want, and what the guest expects and what they want. Tough. Always tough. Disney, one last time, Toy Story just opened as you're sitting here listening to this. Did not even remotely try to go to Hollywood Studios right now, because I understand the expectation, and the reality of that is it's not going to happen. Pandora has been open for I don't know how many months now. We were in line for another ride, and someone beside us said the wait was 4 hours. If you want to wait 4 hours for something, you help yourself. I don't. But guarantee you there were people standing in that line waiting. And is that okay for Disney, and is that okay for the guests? So, interesting stuff. Always fun to try to figure out the balance.